Hi, everyone. Today's subject is one that I am very passionate about, vacation. For those that have followed Own Your 5 to 9 for the last few years will know I'm huge on normalizing sabbaticals. Our family has done 2 consecutive ones over the last 2 years. Sabbaticals don't have to be a year long. They don't require going anywhere special. They can happen in your backyard. Sabbaticals in our home is a way to disconnect with the norms and rhythms of the world and to reconnect as a family. With that being said, how can we even talk about or think about sabbaticals when we as a society are vacationing all wrong? Furthermore, is there a connection between burnout and the lack of vacations that we take here in America? Or is there something deeper going on? Stay tuned. I'll dive into these questions when we come back. You are listening to the Work-Life Eubiosis podcast with your host, Charleston Edwards. If this is your first time here, welcome. My goal is simple, to bring harmony and balance to this world, starting with the family. There is so much more to life than the 9 to 5, and this show is designed to bring you inspiration, motivation, and practical solutions to bring balance and joy back to your life. Work-life balance is not a myth, it's a choice. Themes on this show range widely between faith, family rhythms, work, and lifestyle philosophies. You will also hear burning ladder essays submitted by our community of friends and listeners who ditched the rat race, beat burnout to pursue a more balanced and purposeful life. My hope is that this show and the stories shared will provide encouragement, motivation, and will provide some ideas that will be valuable to you on your journey to work-life freedom. So let's dive into today's episode. In the 1985 blockbuster movie Ghostbusters, 3 Columbia University professors are fired after getting dismissed for their paranormal-focused research about their first encounter with a ghost. It turns out that ghosts were prevalent all over the city. With that, these professors found their new purpose in life of eradicating ghosts. Fast forward to today, we don't have a ghost problem in our society, but we have a burnout problem. Burnout is everywhere, and it has to be eradicated. At first thought, taking more vacations could potentially be the solution, but it's not. And even if it was, we are quite bad at taking vacations. USA Today came out with an article 2 weeks ago, June of 2024, highlighting the fact that Americans are the worst at taking vacation time worldwide. On average, Americans take 11 days off per year. 78% of all workers leave PTO on the table. 85% of workers, according to a recent Harris poll, wish that their workplace culture would change when it comes to vacationing. CNBC just recently exposed the growth of quiet vacationing. The main point in all of this data points back to the pressure of being productive and to not look like a slacker. So we ghost while we are on the clock. It's easy to say that American work ethic is what makes us great. It's also easy to say that it's what makes us burn out. Either or, the rise of burnout is much bigger than a work-rest ratio problem. Burnout is an achievement culture problem that has been brewing for over 50 years. Though vocational and emotional burnout was a term that dates back to the 1970s, it wasn't until 2019 that the World Health Organization acknowledged that there was an epidemic happening. 1 year later, the pandemic magnified the burnout worldwide. And with that, the Great Resignation was born. I was one of them. Burnout at its core is an emotional disconnection of our efforts. This disconnect can be attributed to many things: identity crisis, lack of recognition, shift in values, or just a toxic workplace. But the biggest attribute of this disconnect is not knowing our purpose. I often say that when we know our why, we know our way. But the way forward is not about achievement or out of burnout. Our way ahead is about using our purpose for service. What the achievement culture takes pride in the most is its unique ability to make us feel empty and unsatisfied. We never say, "This is enough." We are obsessed with breaking records. We are fascinated with the words more, growth, and scaling. Achieving more has no ceiling as we fulfill our fullest potential. Hence the terms hamster wheel and treadmill are frequently used when we refer to our pursuits of success. Because of the competitive nature of the achievement culture, we have forgotten how to rest, how to recharge, how to reset. We have forgotten that there is beauty in the words, "enough, I've hit my capacity." Our boundary mechanisms have crashed and burned. Working hard is very important, but there's a word called balance to keep us regulated, healthy, and available to those who need us the most: family. I unapologetically endorse long vacations. More on that shortly. But I will be the first to say that vacations don't cure our burnout. It's just a Band-Aid best used by our achievement culture. The cure to burnout starts when we flip the meaning of achievement on its head and then take active steps towards realigning our priorities to our purpose. Once we master this, we can improve our vacation habits. Achieving is great, but let's take a look at where we can fall into its traps. Achievement by the world standards has a specific look and feel, and depending on where we have set our gazes or have been indoctrinated by our past experiences, success will look different for everyone. If we aren't careful, the success of others becomes our own goal. Be careful of this comparison trap. It's a thief of joy. The societal measures of achievement are earning paper certificates, performing well academically, getting the good paying job, getting married, climbing the ladder, buying the house with the picket fence, and raising good kids who are introduced to a myriad of opportunities and through limitless activities. And then putting the kids through college, and then saving up for retirement and living comfortably into our golden years once we have an empty nest. This is not bad, as this is our American script or American dream for all citizens. Many people come to this country to find this type of freedom. But life rarely fulfills what the rat race promises. Life is up and down, left and right, and filled with trials at every intersection. In life, we will all achieve, but we will all fail at many things. We all hit a point of adversity and will question everything that we believe. This is a blessing, by the way, to be able to reevaluate our personal belief systems when burnout happens. It's imperative to know and to live by our core values. But what's interesting is observing how many of us are just as sad when we are at our highest peak and in the lowest valley. This is troublesome. This should be troublesome to all of us. Burnout happens because we've been sold the wrong definition of how to find our joy. It's not in the stuff or experiences or vacations. The secret to sustainable happiness is hidden in our purpose. When we know how and why we were designed, the outcomes of our ambitions, whatever that is, do not matter. Timelines don't matter. The size of our house don't matter. The size of our retirement account doesn't matter. The titles before and after our names don't matter. The number of achievements we accomplish does not matter. What universities our kids go to will not matter. So what matters? Loving God and loving people. To do this well, we must live in alignment with our core purpose. We all have a uniquely designed blueprint for how we show up in this world. What's yours? When was the last time you asked yourself that question? Work will never feel like punishment when we are operating in our purpose the way that God has uniquely designed each one of us to work. How we show up in our work is insanely different for every single person on this earth. The ability to take our purpose to serve others in only the way that makes sense to each one of us becomes part of something greater and creates so much good for this world. We must stop hiding behind the facade of other people's perceived thoughts and our inner critics and be authentic to who we are at the core. I can't say this is enough. It matters more to focus on our how than our what. What we do matters, but how we do it matters more. Purpose is the cure for burnout. This is the cure to eliminating stress. This is the cure to sustainable joy and happiness. This is the cure for seeing the world differently. The ancient proverb holds true. Do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. My reframe of this proverb would be, find your purpose. Release expectations of your efforts, and you will find relief from burnout. So if you'll never work a day in your life after you dedicate a life to what you love, are vacations necessary? The short answer is yes, vacations are still necessary. We can still get tired, overwhelmed, and fatigued by our passions. But let's not confuse fatigue with burnout. In fact, if how we show up is the goal instead of what we are doing for more achievements, we can now ease the guilt of taking more than 11 days off per year. We'll be right back to get more into the topic of taking time off. This episode is brought to you by Own Your 5 to 9, an organization committed to freeing families of the rat race and burnout. Every organization has a leader, mission, and a set of values that drives the organization. But this is commonly missed in the most important organization in the world, the family. An organization has one mission for how it will impact the world. Why not the family? An organization goes into strategic planning routinely to align its values, mission, and projects. Why not the family? Whose Home, a strategic planning guide for families, is a workbook and a tool needed in all households. Whose Home takes a strategic planning approach with 10 guided exercises to define your core family values, family mission, and tools to operationalize how your family does life together. If your family is facing a big decision, Whose Home is for you. If you're considering a career pivot, Whose Home is also for you. If you desire more intentionality and harmony in your home, Whose Home is for you. Create a healthy culture, not a hustle culture, at home. Visit ownyour5to9.com to claim your copy today. Ghosting is something my wife tells me I do excellently. I'm an introvert, so when I'm in a crowded environment or at parties, I just disappear without announcements. No goodbyes, see you laters, thank you for having me. I just find the nearest door and poof. I highly recommend not using the ghosting technique for taking vacations, so you can truly unplug versus pretending to be plugged in. Follow your HR guidelines. If you're self-employed, notify any partners and clients that you're truly ghosting with an announcement. This permission to ghost is not to be irresponsible. Ghost politely. Hand things over. Finish the major project and put a line in the sand if another project is preventing you from taking off. As summer is full in gear, we have some decisions to make regarding vacations for the rest of the year. Here are 7 categories of how we all are approaching vacation time. Some of us have some time saved up to take off, but big projects, events, and launches are getting in the way. Number 2, some of us have allocated our PTO to later in the year, which is great. Number 3, some of us have little PTO and need more time to take care of ourselves or have unique circumstances in our life. Number 4, some of us are independent and we set our own time off, but the research says that most freelancers are rarely taking this time off. Number 5, some of us simply don't have anybody to hand over our work to when we do take the time off, so we avoid the vacation. Number 6, some of us are overly ambitious and our goals don't allow the time to rest. That's what we do when we die, right? And the last and the top reason that we are only using half of our time off is because of guilt. It's because of our colleagues next to us, virtually or in person, that are not taking their time off is the reason we're not taking the time off. Which means someone else's inability to create healthy boundaries typically impacts our own ability to get time away. This is the underbelly of the achievement culture. This reason alone gives us all permission to ghost. We must do our own self-assessment of what type of rest works for us. We must find our own pace. We must realize that if we disappear for more than 11 days, does not make us a slacker. We must not get tricked into thinking that the world is going to stop spinning when we disappear to recharge. The number one culprit preventing healthy vacations are our devices. Without healthy boundaries, technology keeps us not only from doing our best work, it prevents us from doing our best rest. To do a vacation well, remove your email application and social applications from your phone on day 1 of your vacation. Leave the computer at home to prevent any temptations to sneak a peek at your email. Keep your last day before PTO and the first day back after PTO to be meeting free so you can re-engage with the workload on your terms. This one act of meeting free days pre and post vacation reduces stress and helps to ease you back into rhythm. If you need proof that your device may need a vacation too, take a moment to listen to your alerts right now. Pause right here and sit in 2 minutes of silence. Seriously. Was it an email? Was it a text? Was it a chat? Was it the news? Was it a weather alert? An Amber Alert? Was it a phone call? Was it all the above? If it was still silent, congratulations. You're the 1% of the world experiencing a moment of silence right now. Now imagine a couple of weeks of this same type of silence. Our world is noisier than ever. I'm part of that same noise, and I encourage you to unplug from me as well if you're doing a digital detox or attempting a digital-free vacation. We need permission to detox, to recharge, and vacation like a champ. We need permission to ghost. Ghosting techniques go beyond vacations. And no, this isn't about taking a quiet vacation. If you're a 40-hour-a-week employee, own how you work well within your allotted time. Implement the same strategies for ghosting on vacation for ghosting after 5 o'clock. And no, ghosting after 5 o'clock is not quite quitting either. You're holding boundaries for other areas that you find valuable in your life. Technology has slowly crept into our off hours, and we must debunk the norms of being accessible around the clock. Remember that the most important organization in the world is the family. Some jobs and industries do require being on call after hours, and there is no way around that. But for everyone else who have options, crossing the boundary line is a result of the culture. We meet way too much, and we put too much on our plates. And because of that, we can't work or respond to emails until after 5 o'clock. This may work for seasons, but it's not a sustainable or healthy way of life. But I'm going to digress from this topic and point you to a few resources if this is a challenge in your workplace. If you're not on my email list or haven't visited my website, you can find these next 4 resources at ownyour5to9.com. 7 work-from-home boundaries you must know. Friday rules to live by. A letter to Zoom and friends. And the last one is normalize sabbaticals and beat burnout. When we are convinced that we have to earn a sabbatical, this brings us back full circle to the underbelly of the achievement culture. Tenure is great, but we all have the right to rest well on our terms. Extended ghosting, sabbaticals, or whatever you want to label it, is something that I highly endorse. Sabbaticals should be a norm in our country, and we can easily take notes from our European friends. They don't call it sabbaticals, but the French, Italians, and other European countries shut down every August. The mandatory shutdowns work. Morale stays up, and turnover is reduced with radical initiatives that focus on the health of the worker. 4 consecutive weeks off in a row on top of earned vacation time is just simply unheard of as a standard in America. But it doesn't have to be. We don't really need permission from institutions for the rest that we need. But as individuals, we are in a day and age where we can make this happen. If you're a leader of a company, you can also make this happen for your team. Before we make excuses for all the reasons this is not possible, let me remind you that our society got quite creative literally overnight when the pandemic hit in March of 2020. Unfortunately, we are still dealing with the crisis of our era, and it's called burnout. It can be solved if we shift our motivations from more accomplishment to more purpose. Meanwhile, vacation isn't the only way to catch a break. Here are a few tested and tried techniques by other organizations that are getting it right. Summer Fridays, which is to shut down early, go remote only on Fridays, or possibly mandate no meetings on Fridays. Summer and winter breaks. Shut down for a full week during the 4th of July and the weeks of Thanksgiving and Christmas and before New Year's. How about 4-day work weeks throughout the year? It doesn't have to be all year long, but choose 3 or 4 times throughout the year where you can go to a 4-day work week. Anti-quiet vacation policies. Allow ghosting so workers don't have to pretend to be on the clock when they are traveling. How about bringing back comp days? This is a classic tip, but reward workers for hard work, excellence, and getting projects over the finish line. And then let's talk communication boundaries with work. How about no emails after 5 o'clock or before 9 a.m.? And communication boundaries with your family. So when we actually do go on vacations, let's communicate and negotiate what everyone needs for their rest. Everyone has a different mode for recharging the battery. So, as we end, here are a few reflective questions to think about. Is my work aligned with my purpose or aligned with a different objective? What goals do I have, and why are they important? When was the last time I had an extended vacation? Or when did I actually take my last vacation? What is the worst thing that could happen if I ghosted while I was on vacation, meaning no phones or computers? As a leader or a business owner, what if I shut down my company for a couple of weeks? What would need to happen to allow this to happen without sinking the company? Jot down every detail and give it to your partners or colleagues to shoot holes in the plan, and then implement. If my vacation time is less than 11 days, is there time that I'm leaving on the table? If so, why do I feel like that's necessary? There are no right or wrong answers to these questions, but the goal is to help move us all out of the mindset of constantly achieving to a mindset of living on purpose. Work hard, but rest well. Until next time. Thank you for listening to the Work Life You by OSAS podcast, part of the Work Life resources created by Own Your 5 to 9. I hope that you have found encouragement and a few ideas to strengthen your journey to purpose, freedom, and balance. Have you overcome burnout and found a new way of life? Millions around the globe are still at the risk of burnout and losing it all, and your story may be the one that sparks not only a dream, but action. Visit ownyour5to9.com for more information and to submit your story. While you're there, join the Work Life You by OSAS newsletter and receive additional resources weekly right to your inbox. If you enjoy this podcast, take time to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Share it with a friend or a loved one. Remember, the most important organization in the world is the family. Let's do our part to strengthen it. Thank you for listening.